Welcome to Your Legacy Radio. My name is Scott Tanzel, and I'm your host for Your Legacy Radio, brought to you by River Wealth Solutions. And River Wealth Solutions is an organization that we could not do this show without. It's an organization that helps individuals who are terminally ill to provide a more fulfilled life for those affected by a terminal illness. And I've had quite a few discussions with individuals this past week as far as, you know, you work with individuals who have a terminal illness. And I always say affected by, because my feeling is that a terminal illness description or a terminal illness diagnosis can be overcome. And I see it overcome every single day. Through the organization that is River Wealth Solutions, we help individuals who are affected by a terminal illness to live a more fulfilled life through discovering funds that they currently have through assets that they own, be it life insurance, be it real estate, be it a car, be it, a lot of different things that they have in their lives. And the thing that they need is money. The thing that they need most oftentimes is funds. We actually went to an event this past week. It was a conference for the Western Carolina Alzheimer's Association, and it was an unbelievable conference. Got to talk to a lot of individuals who attended this conference and either have Alzheimer's or they're helping to care for someone that is affected by this disease. And I heard it over and over and over. It's a long disease. It's a long process. When someone is diagnosed, it typically goes on for 5, 10, 15 years sometimes, as far as the effect that it has on the individual. Not just the effect that it has on the individual, but also the effect that it has on the individual's family and on the individual's, team of support that's around that individual. So it's, there's 5 million individuals within this country that are affected by Alzheimer's, but there's 15 plus million individuals that are affected by Alzheimer's, not necessarily affected by the disease as an individual, but affected by the disease through caring for or loving someone who is affected by this horrible disease. And over and over and over, I heard it this past week at that conference, and then also in other situations that I was involved in, helping individuals who are affected by a terminal illness. The main thing that they needed was funds. Well, the organization of River Wealth Solutions helps them discover funds that they already have through assets that they owned. And I talked to a lot of individuals about something called a living resource benefit this past week. A living resource benefit is when someone has a life insurance policy that they no longer need, be it that they purchased it 20 years ago, 30 years ago. The premiums are outrageous at the point where I get into a discussion with them oftentimes because they've had it for so long. They're aging in life. As they get older, the premiums rise. They get to a point where, okay, I can either continue to pay for the premiums on this policy, or I can redirect those funds and direct those funds towards my health care. But so they let the policy go. And that's the biggest mistake that they could ever do. And that's what I try to educate them on, is the fact that, okay, through a transaction that's called a living resource benefit, which you can find more information about that at livingresourcebenefit.com. But through a transaction that is a living resource benefit, you can actually take your life insurance policy that, yes, you needed it at a point in time, but now you need the money more than you need the policy. You can actually sell that policy, bring the money into your life, use it for vacation, use it for just living life, use it to stay home from work, use it for medical care, which is most often what's needed when someone is affected by a terminal illness. You can use those funds today, and I always ask individuals, would your family rather you leave it for them or live it with them? And I've never had anyone say they would rather me leave it for them, because they want you to live it with them. And if it means you could take those funds, use it for a medical care that would then increase the likelihood of you remaining here on this earth for at least a longer period of time, possibly for getting rid of the disease totally. I know your family, just like my family, would say, you know what? Yeah, let's create a living resource benefit. Let's sell this life insurance policy, get the funds that we need. The problem is that most individuals have no idea that this is even an opportunity for them. And that's why I try to educate individuals every single week that this opportunity is there for you if you have a life insurance policy. Can it be done with a term life policy? Absolutely. That's always a question that I get. Does it have to be whole life, or can it just be term? It can be term. If you have a terminal illness, you can use your term policy to create funds for you today, opposed to just waiting until you're no longer here on this earth to utilize the the funds to get the medical care you need, to take care of the life that you've been presented with, the path that you've been given. We're all given the path that we are supposed to be given to be able to go down that path and achieve the things that we're supposed to achieve while we're here on this earth. The organization that is River Wealth Solutions can help you to put that path in place properly, create the legacy that you want to create. If you want to get a hold of River Wealth Solutions, you can do so by calling them directly at 866-500-2922. That's 866-500-2922. I am going to have an awesome interview in the second and third segment of the show today with Catherine Lambert. She is the CEO for the Alzheimer's Association of Western Carolina, and I had the pleasure of meeting Catherine this past week, and it was just, we had a brief conversation. I knew she was coming on the show, so I've got a lot of questions for her that I'm going to ask as we get into the show in a deeper fashion. But the Association of Western Carolina, Alzheimer's Association, does amazing things for its members, does amazing things for individuals who are affected by Alzheimer's. Either they have the disease themselves, or they are the caretaker of someone who does have this horrible disease. Also met with, and next week I'm going to have on the show the president of the the ALS Association. So we've got a lot of fun things that are going to be happening over the next couple of weeks, hopefully to spread awareness to these diseases, how they affect individuals, but then also how these individuals can get the support that they need in the areas that, again, it's just because of lack of knowledge. Oftentimes they don't even know these support groups and these support systems exist, and they try to manage these diseases on their own, be it ALS or Alzheimer's. And it just does not have to be that way. Talking about lack of knowledge, I even met with, and I'm not going to give his name, but I met with a financial planner who was actually at the conference this past week, the Alzheimer's conference this past week, and he was holding sessions. He was educating individuals in how to put a will in place, and how to put a will for when you leave this earth, and how to put a living will in place, how to put a power of attorney in place, how to allocate your accounts and set your accounts up properly, so if something does happen to you, which we should all be doing this, and most individuals don't do this, and that's why it's a mess when someone does leave this earth, is because their family has to pick up all the pieces, especially if someone is affected by a terminal illness. It's always good to get these things in line, just in case. I mean, our hopes and our prayers are that the terminal illness goes away and the effect is gone, and we've seen that happen over and over and over, but it's always good to have these things in place with or without a terminal illness, just so that you decide where things go. But this individual was putting on some different sessions as far as how to put these things in place, and I asked him about a living resource benefit, because I said, this would be a transaction for your clients especially, that it would be extremely beneficial for, because they're facing end-of-life decisions. They need access to capital. He knew nothing about what a living resource benefit is, and I that's scary to me. The fact that someone who is trained in financial planning and financial management does not know or is not aware of what a living resource benefit is. So I educated him, and I went through it with him, and I talked to him about how his clients could benefit from this transaction, and how it would give them more funds that they need today to utilize in the care for themselves or for a loved one or whatever they may be dealing with. And he was appreciative, and took down my information. I took down his, and we're going to meet, and we're going to get things in place. But my point with that whole thought process is that there's an immense lack of knowledge. So if you're sitting there as an individual and you say, you know what, I just have never heard of this living resource benefit, I hope you go and get more information on it. Maybe it's a transaction that would benefit you. Maybe it's not. If you say, I have all the money I need to be able to pay my life insurance premiums, or my husband's or my wife's life insurance premiums until they pass away, and we can do everything we need to do as far as travel, we can pay for medical bills, we've got everything covered financially, then it's not a good transaction for you. But for most, and if you look at the percentages of life insurance policies that never pay out by the insurance company, it's like 90%. So for most individuals who give their policy back to the insurance company before it even pays out, who are affected by a terminal illness especially, it is a very valuable transaction to them, because in the end, and this is what I talked to the financial planner about this past week, in the end, his clients are going to let the policies go back to the insurance companies anyway, because they want to redirect those funds. And I say, yes, that's a great idea if that's where you are financially and that's what you need to do, is to redirect those funds so that you can get the health care that you need. However, utilize that policy for what it was there for to begin with, and that is to be an asset for you. It's not something that you just pay on for 10, 20, 30 years until you can't pay on it anymore and then just give all that free money to the insurance company. No, use it as the asset that it was created for you and your family. Gain capital from that asset, and you can do that through a living resource benefit transaction. Sell that policy, create a death benefit with the policy, but get access to the funds within that policy. If you want more information about a living resource benefit, we can sit down with you one-on-one through River Wealth Solutions, the organization that is River Wealth Solutions. You can call them directly at 866-500-2922. That number again is 866-500-2922. We'll have a lot more to go into about a living resource benefit. We're also going to talk to Catherine Lambert from the Alzheimer's Association Western Carolina chapter. We'll be right back with more of Your Legacy Radio right here on News Talk 1110 WBT and on WBT.com.